I'm really hoping this video is working out. I'm still on the road. I am about 270 miles from good old St. Petersburg, Florida, in Florida. This video is really here because I want people to think this is something very important to me. It is a really big issue, and anyone that wants to contact me, try to help, anything you want to do, I really, really would appreciate, because I'm trying to get, working with a few different groups, trying to get the word out and trying to get this nipped in the bud. And what it is bullying in schools. Whether it be teacher to student, student to teacher, student to student. Okay? It is a major, major issue. I'm going to, this is kind of what this video is going to be, and I'm going to make some short things too to go with it. This is going to be a little bit long, but I'm going to talk about my stories for being bullied through school. And finishing up with something that happened very recently in college with a teacher. So that'll be towards the end. But to give you a little background, I'm born and raised in St. Petersburg, Florida. I've lived there my whole life. I went to school there. And I was always the fat kid. I still kind of am the fat kid, you know. It takes a lot of work to keep this girlish figure. I was always the fat kid. I always have been the fat kid because I'm a big guy. I don't argue. I'm 6'3", 280. I'm a big guy. I played football in high school. I play tennis like this. Kind of scary. If you want to ever see a big old grizzly bear running across the tennis court, come watch me. It's about the same thing. About as hairy too. I got the Rob Williams thing going on. But really, really was always made fun of. Always, 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 always made fun of. And for some reason my phone's ringing and I'm going to kill whoever it is because it's probably my mother wondering where I'm at on the road. Yes, it is, and I'm not talking to her right now. She can deal. Did it end the call? Yeah, it ended the call. Is that I was always bullied through school. It didn't matter where I was at, no matter what I did. I was actually a really, really nice kid. And as I got closer and closer to high school, I became more and more cynical, more and more withdrawn, and just overall just didn't want to be there. Because I didn't like going into school every day and being picked on. I didn't like being made fun of. I didn't like dealing with people that were just openly assholes and got away with it. That was the big kicker for me, is they got away with it. And I don't understand that, because I only went to public school technically for a year. All the other schools I was at were private schools. I never had to go to public school. And in private school, you'd think it'd be better. And because most of those schools were religious. I went to Catholic and a few Christian schools. So you would think in that it would be better, and it's not. It's just as bad. And they still are not doing anything about it. They're still not taking care of the problem. But we'll go back a little ways here. There was only, I take it back, there was one school I was at that I never was made fun of. Really, I was never really made fun of, and no one ever really picked on me or anything. And that's because it was a really good school. Yes, we were younger, but it still happens at that age. But it was over at Bay Park, which is no longer in existence. It was a school that Bayfront Medical Center owned. And my dad was VP at Bayfront at the time, so only employees had their kids there. But I was part of the first class ever to go through all the way through the school. It ended in 3rd grade, started at 2 years old. And I never really had that there. That was kind of my best experience with school ever, was there, because we didn't have a lot of that. There really wasn't any of that kind of stuff going on. We had, 15, 20 kids in a class, so it wasn't like tiny classes or something where there's only 4 kids. There was, a good amount of kids in the classes, and very diverse. We had a lot of black kids, a lot of white kids, a lot of girls, a lot of, Hispanics, Indian. It didn't matter. There was a nice mix in there. We never really had issues. But, and I hope I'm not speeding, because I don't want a ticket from Georgia, because they're sitting there watching again. But after that, when I moved up in grades, the teasing and all that stuff really started. It really started getting bad. It really progressed. I mean, I remember at one of the schools, it was a daily basis that I would have been called fat. Or it was a daily basis that someone would say something nasty to me and they'd get away with it. every single day. Every single day. No matter if I was nice to them, mean to them, ignored them, no matter what. And I tell you, one of the really hard things you hear as a kid is when your parents don't necessarily believe you, and the school definitely doesn't believe you because, you know, the school's always right. But when they say it takes two to tango, well, I hate to break it to the world. If you're a fat kid, it doesn't take two to tango. All they have to do is the skinny kids, that usually the ones making fun of you, have to feel insecure about themselves. So they make fun of the fat kid to take the attention off of them. That's the whole gimmick. And a lot of people don't get that. That's the reason why a lot of them do it, is they're so insecure that they've got to pull the attention away from most of the time. The other parts of that is really badly raised children that have no manners. And I see a lot of those. You know, there was there's a saying, it takes a village. Well, I hate to break it to you, the village has got shit to do and it's not watching your kids. But, you know, getting made fun of all that, you know, even in Christian school, it was pretty bad. I had a few teachers as well that would do it. I had a teacher in high school. Get this too, our religion teacher used to call me fat. Used to make fun of me in class. Would make fun of me. Which is just unbelievable. She was the religion teacher at a Catholic high school. That says something. You know, even when I was on football team, I got an injury freshman year. I completely destroyed my knee. I had to stop playing. I was not able to play anymore. There was no way for me to do it anymore. So my coach, which to this day, I think he's one of the best coaches ever. One of the best guys I've ever known. And just to put this out there, if anyone's watching knows, Coach Mancuso is the finest human being and the finest coach I have ever had the pleasure of having as a coach and knowing. And I hope if someone hears this that sees him regularly, because I never see him anymore. But he is a phenomenal guy. But he asked me to stay on as team manager, because you can still get scholarships and things for that. And I said, sure. I did it for Coach because Coach wanted me to. And I was doing that as a favor to Coach because I just really adore Coach. He is an awesome guy. Well, guess what being the manager means you end up doing? A lot of times it means you're getting the water for the team. It means you're getting stuff ready for the team. You're kind of the team's nanny at some level. So guess what? For the rest of the time I was in high school, I got called Water Boy and made fun of for that because I decided to do something for the team and stay on the team. It didn't necessarily come from my teammates so much. There was one or two that it would come from there, but it definitely came from the rest of the kids in the school, especially my class. My class was horrendous. So, you know, and that really hurt me. It hurt me emotionally. It hurt me developmentally wise. It hurt me socially. It hurt me with education because I, you know, had a hard time focusing on school because I was constantly being made fun of. You know, I am still really introverted because, you know, I have an inherent distrust for people because I know only probably one or two people that I can truly trust, that I really, really can trust because I know they'll be there. And, you know, honestly, only one of them's in my family. The rest of them the other person's not in my family. But there's only two people I really can trust. And that part of that probably comes from that. Part of that comes from people who are assholes. But nothing was ever done. No matter how many times we came to school, no matter how many times things happened. A good example of something that happened in high school, because these are the more recent stuff, even though it was a while since I've been in high school. That is stuff I can't really remember. I try to block it out. But in high school, I had this little kid. The kid couldn't have been more than 4'5", 4'11", maybe. Little tiny kid, really skinny in my grade. And he obviously had Napoleon syndrome. He had to have Napoleon syndrome because he always messed with me. And by end of freshman year, I was 6'3", 290 pounds, okay? And I was a lot more built than I am now because I lifted weights every single day. I was out, you know, doing football stuff constantly, running around, doing everything. Now I've got a little complacent. I'm working on it. It's a process, very long process. But this kid decides to come up behind me to show off to one of his friends. And decides we had these terrazzo floors and terrazzo stairs. So if they were wet, they were slick as hell. It was like ice skating. But I was walking down the second half of the stairs because you got to turn. There was landing and turn. He decides to come up behind me. I didn't realize he was behind me, but he decided to kick my backpack to try to shove me down the stairs. And because I play sports would be my reasoning for this, because I'm very aware of where I am, and I'm very careful walking downstairs, I immediately grabbed the railing. I only tripped down 2 steps. Well, I turn around because I'm about to knock the kid on his ass. I'm about to knock him out. Kid turns and punches me in the head. So I finally got him by his shirt now, and I've got the kid practically off the ground at this point because I'm way bigger than him. Teacher comes by, breaks us up, sends us both to the office. Now here's the crowning glory. He did that to me. We both got suspended. I don't understand. First off, I don't understand that. Secondly, there was a parent-teacher meeting with the dean of, we had a dean of education, a dean of discipline, and our principal. Well, the dean of discipline and our principal, and the parents were like, oh, your kid is dangerous. He's a danger to our son. He needs to be expelled. And my mom said one of the quintessential things that she's ever said that I think is just phenomenal and hilarious and true. My mom said, first off, your kid started it. Secondly, look at the size of your kid and look at the size of my kid. Does your kid have a death wish? Because the kid literally was about 80 pounds. And he's trying to start a fight with someone easily 3 or 4 times his size. It's ridiculous. But, getting picked on. And for some reason we got equal punishment. Even though I guess it would be justified for me to get suspended, maybe. Because I wasn't willing to just walk away from the fight as I'm getting punched in the face. But definitely not the same level of suspension for the same amount of time. And then get told I'm on thin ice because I got punched in the face. Just, one of those things is a little weird. But now we'll skip ahead to the crowning jewel now. This just happened recently, and I am seriously still debating if I'm going to contact the Florida Department of Education about this teacher. I've been taking some classes over at St. Pete College recently because I changed my degree, so I'm having to do a few things to switch that around, and I'm going to be transferring soon. But I had a teacher, which she will remain nameless. She knows who she is if she watches this. That openly was abusive, aggressive, and threatening. Okay? And I'm going to get into details. And just to forewarn everyone that's watching this, and I apologize, but there is some profane language in here, and all of it is her words, not mine. Just want to point that out ahead of time, that I'm not adding anything in here. This is what was said. I am very bad at English. I have a learning disability in English. I've always had problems with it. I've overcome them, but it's still a challenge. English is not my subject. I am a math and science person, hands down. Hopefully this video is not too dark. I'm hoping it's still bright enough. But in English class, we had to write our first paper. And that first paper, we had 2 choices. We could do a paper that was controversial, on a controversial subject that was, you had to pick 3 blogs that you either agreed or disagreed with, and write a paper on it. Or you could do the traditional assignment, which was to do an essay on one of the stories from the literature book that we use for class, which we barely use at all. Obviously, from the way this is sounding, I decided to, whoops, that's not going to work. I decided to do both, actually, because I'm one of those kind of people. If I have the time, I want to put in the effort. I want to do both because doing it is a learning experience, and I am all about learning anytime I can. So I did both of them. My blog paper, and actually, you know what? I'm not going to even say what it's on because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But I wrote a blog paper that, it was something I disagreed with, and it was controversial. After we had to read in class, which I didn't know we were going to do, and I did not like, but I did it willingly, And a lot of other people were fighting not to do it, and I did it willingly. I came up to our teacher after class, and there was 1 or 2 students still in the classroom. And I was about to ask her a couple questions about my paper. And the first things out of her mouth was, my paper, her words, was fucking shit. And then she went on for a 30-minute rant because she didn't like the content. Not because it structurally was bad, not because there was bad grammar, not because there was problems with the paper itself, but because she didn't like the content. So I was very dismayed. I was very upset because I had put a lot of work into that paper. You know, I didn't take it well. I really did not take it well. And luckily I had 2 of my other teachers were also literature teachers. They teach a different subject, but they're also literature teachers. And I let them look at it. And they said flat out it was an A paper. There was nothing wrong with it. So that calmed me down a little bit. It made me feel a little bit better. Well, the next class, we watch a video on, I believe it was the Battle for Darfur. It was one of the biggest, hotly contested places in Iraq with the U.S. government. We watched a documentary on it. That's fine. Documentaries and those kinds of things are part of literature now. That is fine. I do not have a problem with that. What I do have a problem with is after the movie was over, this is the question she asked, chuckling as she asked the question, thinking it's funny. So who do you think out of that group's the most fucked up? That's what she says. Well, coming from a family that pretty much everyone was in the military, I find that offensive. Very offensive. To say something like that about men and women that fought for our freedom, that are fighting for our freedom, that are dying for our freedom, when she has never been in the military, when she has never done any of that, to say something of that just horrible nature really disgusts me. But, you know, I didn't say anything. That wasn't directly towards me, but that just to give you some context of the situation. The next class, we came in, she had her paper, she was handing it back. No one was saying anything to her when she handed back. They were just taking them. I was minding my own business. I didn't want to get into something with her because I know I have a mouth. And I know if I say something, I will say something I regret. So my best tactic is just to be quiet. So that's what I was doing. She hands back my paper, I look up, I take it from her, I set it down on the table, I go back to what I'm doing. And she stops, and I can see her out of the corner of my eye. She's staring at me, and she goes, "You're welcome." Just like that. I do not respond, because that's an invitation. That's trying to get me to react, and I'm not going to do that. I used to fall for that when I'm younger. I don't fall for it anymore. And then after that, directly after that, still looking at me, she goes, "Oh, there's some things worth getting fired over." I don't know about you, but to me, that is an open and direct threat. Either A, to my safety, or B, to my grades. That is a direct threat. But we continue. After that, didn't say anything to her. Just walked out of class after class, didn't say anything, didn't do anything. The next class, we watched a movie that I find and her director found very, very, very inappropriate for a literature class. And if you haven't seen the movie, I don't recommend you go pull it up. It is very grotesque. I don't have a problem with the subject matter. I have a problem with the way some of it was portrayed. But it's a movie called Transamerica, and I have no problems with people that are transgender. I know many of them that are friends of mine. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem in an English class in college watching a movie like that, because it doesn't have a place in that class. Maybe sociology somewhere else it has a place, but not there. Secondly, that movie has an absurd amount of profanity, frontal nudity, and inappropriate sexual acts, including molestation of a minor. That has no place in an English class. It just doesn't. And that was kind of one of the last straws right there. One more class after this, and this was the final straw before I walked out of class and just didn't go back, our teacher had us read from the book almost every day that we were there. Stories that we had already read the night before for the people that didn't read it, which was stupid. Well, when I was in class, I would write on personal things because I can listen and do something else at the same time. I'm not learning anything from them reading the same stories I read the night before for homework like we were supposed to again. So I'm not going to sit there and follow the book. It ain't going to happen. But I got to slow down here because I'm still in Georgia and the speed limit dropped again. But I was doing my own thing, and she looks up, calls me out in the middle of the class and goes, asked me a question about what they're talking about, and it was on a theological question that I didn't know the answer to. Well, I did know the answer to, but I didn't want to answer her. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction. I said, I don't know the answer. And I was typing on my tablet, and she said, well, why don't you pull it up on the internet? And I said, I prefer not to. Very nicely, and I went back to what I was doing because I wasn't getting sucked into it. Well, later in the class, we were reading a raunchy piece of literature, which is appropriate for English class. This is the difference between Transamerica and that. This is appropriate for a class because it is literature. And maybe raunchy literature, but it's literature. There's a difference. It's a legitimate piece of writing. It belongs to be there. I don't have a problem with that. But halfway through, she looks up and she says, Ryan, if you don't like it, why don't you write a letter to the college? And that was the last straw, because that was another just uncalled for. She's trying to make it a hostile environment in there for me in class. She's doing similar things to other children in the or other students in the class, because we're not kids, but and it's just wrong. Well, one of the things I was doing that class was pulling up the state of Florida Code of Ethics and Code of Conduct for teachers. And because St. Pete College is a public school, or it's a public college, they have to follow state of Florida's guidelines. Well, she was in direct violation of about 3 of them for bullying, discrimination, otherwise. There was a bunch of stuff she was in, pretty much the entire code she was in violation of. So I finally went to her director, and all I can say at this point, because I don't know yet, it's not the end of the year, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm pretty damn sure at this point, if they don't, she's just an adjunct, she's not a full teacher, but if they have her teaching there next year, I'm most likely going to go to the state board, because at a minimum, she should no longer be allowed to teach at the college, at a minimum. What she should be having happen, which is what is in the Code of Conduct, or the Code of Ethics, is she should be losing her license to teach, because someone like that has no right teaching. There is no place for someone like that teaching. Sorry, excuse me. Because if someone's like that teaching, it means they're not teaching. It means they're just dicking around doing what they want to do and not really doing what needs to be done. Another study was done by StopBullying.org. I think it's .org. It's either .org.com. They're a really great group. They're someone you should check out. And I'll link them in the description. But they had a study up there that I read through that perfectly explained this teacher. And what she had to have been guessing I was, and I really hope everyone goes and reads that paper. It's not that long. It's worth reading. It's an actual scientific investigation. What she was counting on was I was either A, one of the kids that she could get a rise out of, say something or do something that she could expel me from the class, and then just say I was mad about my grade because I was a bad student. Or she figured I was one of the ones that was too afraid to say anything or do anything. Boy, did she get me wrong. Because, like I said to my parents, because my parents would tell me, don't do it. Don't do anything. You don't want to risk your grade. Don't do anything. And I said right to them. I got picked on all throughout school. All throughout middle school, high school. I couldn't do anything about it then. But I can tell you right now, when I'm paying that teacher's salary with my tuition, and that class is a college class, 1, I'm definitely not going to put up with it. 2, she's not getting away with it. I don't care how long it takes me. She is not getting away with treating people that way and doing that in a college situation. It shouldn't be done anywhere, but especially at a college level. So, really what this is for is I really hope everyone that's watching this, please, watch for these things. If you have kids, take them seriously when they're telling you they're getting bullied. Take it very seriously. These kinds of things need to be stopped. They need to do some serious things about it. It really needs to end. And, you know, teachers need to be stopped being absolved from having any responsibility. Because I can tell you right now, in a lot of these situations, if the teacher would have just done their job and stopped the kid right when they started saying it and disciplined that kid, it would have never escalated and never would have been a major problem. But the teachers are not doing it, A, either because they're lazy, or B, because they're afraid to. One of the two. And I don't understand they're afraid to, but I guess with the way parents are now, you know, you can't discipline their kids in school because, oh, it's my kid, you can't discipline him. Because they're not disciplining them, obviously. But please check out nobullying.org. If you have a response, put it up there. I would love to get a lot of videos going on this. I'd love to get a lot of response in the community about it. Tell us your stories. You know, tell us how it happened, what happened, was there a resolution? The only way to change this is if you speak out. I know it can be embarrassing and be hard. This was hard for me to do, you know, because I didn't want people to know how I felt about it. I didn't want them to know what happened to me. But you know what? Hopefully some kid in high school, you know, middle school, elementary will see this. Well, hopefully they won't hear the profanity, but they will see things like this that will give them hope and help them to deal with these problems and help them to understand that it's not them that's the problem. They're not wrong. There's not something wrong with them. They're not different than everyone else, like these kids are trying to make them feel. But it's these kids that are the problem. These kids that are different and these kids that are insecure. So I hope everyone watches this, gets something out of it, and please comment, subscribe, like, comment, everything. Put up video responses. I really would love to get people to put up their stories. Send it to your friends. Try to spread the word around because it would be really great to help out a lot of kids to get this out and to really help people with it. I appreciate everyone watching. Sorry it was another long one. I think there's going to be 2 or 3 more on the way home. Hopefully, I don't think it's too dark, but I hope everyone watches this and gets something out of it. I appreciate it, and you all have a great day.